Next up, we have a very, very, very exciting guest. As one of the early followers of this project, my friend Nathan put me onto it, and I got to see it kind of go from rags to riches and never look back. And now between Igloo and all the different parts of the Pudgy ecosystem, I'm really excited to invite the CEO and founder of Pudgy Penguins to the stage, Luca Netz. If y'all can give a round of applause for Luca.
Okay. Ready to go? I'm ready to rock. You know, people don't know this, but every time I go on stage, I have like no clue what I'm going to talk about. It's pretty ad hoc most of the time. But thankfully, we have a presentation, and I think I know where I'm going to go with this. I think that the topic of the conversation today is going to be why Pudgy Penguins and why I believe Pudgy Penguins is one of the most important companies in crypto. To understand Pudgy Penguins is to actually understand the logo on my hat. The logo on my hat is representative of an igloo. Igloo is the company that holds Pudgy Penguins. It also holds another company called Abstract, which is our blockchain. What does Igloo do better than anybody else? We build digital brands better than anybody else. And what you guys will see over the course of this presentation is why I believe Pudgy Penguins is one of the most important companies within crypto. And why I believe that is because of our ability to invade the hearts and minds of everyday consumers in a way that nobody else in the space can do. Pudgy Penguins is Web3's first ever true mass market brand. A couple of our big milestones over the course of the last couple of years is we're in over 10,000 retailers across the country. Every product that we sell is actually licensed from community members. Every time those products sell, they get a royalty in perpetuity. This might seem menial on its face, but it's actually the complete reinvention of the IP business. And we are getting about 1 billion impressions every single day on social. Everybody says that they are memetic. Everybody says that they are or have solidified themselves within culture. I would argue they are just selling you a narrative. I would tell you that Pudgy Penguins is the only true outlier to those two statements. So what is our strategy? How have we accomplished this? You know, at the end of the day, I kind of look at how I run this business very much like the muscle to the brain. The brain of my business is the community. It starts and stops there. I've tried my hardest over the last couple of years to lead with that integrity, and to be frank, it's been a huge reason as to why we've won. So the real reframing here, and I think how and I mentioned this just a second ago, I think the big reinvention is adding this participation layer. Typically, when you build brands, this graphic is really demonstrative of, I think, how Web2 incumbent brands are built today. Today, when you go and purchase something from Disney or Pixar or Warner Bros., that relationship is very transactional. It's one-sided. You buy their products, they profit off of your products, and that is it. That is the all and be all. When you actually participate within the Pudgy Penguin community, there's a new layer that's added to this relationship, and I call this layer the participation layer. Meaning, if you are an early believer of Pudgy Penguins, if you are a collector of one of our ecosystem assets, you actually have the opportunity to participate in the upside of the brand. What does this mean? Well, let's look at Walmart, for example. Today, we're in about 3,000 Walmarts across the country. Every single toy you see on the shelf of those Walmarts is actually an NFT held by a holder. We basically alchemized their NFT and turned it into a physical product. And every time one of those products sell, they get a royalty paid in perpetuity that's paid out annually every January. We've paid out millions of dollars in licensing royalties, by the way. And so on its face, it seems simple, but this has actually never been done before. It's the first time ever that fandom can actually translate to financial upside, not only in a way that I think, you know, is some sort of co-op, which will never work, or DAO, which never works, but in a real scalable way, right? Where you can own something, you can collect something, you can identify with something, and then have that be a part of this universe and this story. Pretty awesome. And so this is kind of the relationship. Top of funnel, I think Pudgy Penguins is the biggest and best community in crypto. I think this because our presence in Asia is bar none. Our presence in America is bar none. Women love us, men love us, 5-year-olds love us, 60-year-olds love us. It's the only company in crypto that's bringing the family into crypto. Now, many of you will brush over that fact, but in reality, when you're talking about an industry that's going to change the way that we transact, the way that we engage on the internet, being the only company that the family can actually get around is actually pretty significant, at least to me. We won't get into this slide. You know, where we've gone over the last couple of years is we really try to own social. Not only do I think we are one of the most innovative, if not the most innovative, net new IP brand of the last probably decade, or at least last decade, we've also approach this strategy from a Web 2 perspective. We're the most popular and fastest growing Web 2 IP on social. We just absolutely dominate social. And so here's some of our metrics, which we'll get into. Gifs and stickers I think are really relevant, especially because for those of you who are not familiar, we have a coin. Our coin is Pangu. It's in the meme coin category, one of the biggest meme coins in the world today. But I make this argument a lot whenever I'm on stage, and I think it's an important fact that I like to hang my hat on, is everybody claims they're a meme coin, but I can't find the meme. This is the meme, and this is the success of our meme. The metrics are up and to the right. Gifs are memes. Elon Musk said the person who controls the memes control the world. Luca Netz says the person who controls the gifs controls the memes who control the world. In about 12 months, we will be the biggest Giphy and sticker creator of all time in the West. There's only a couple companies in the entire world that get more views and impressions on their gifs and stickers than us, and those companies are actually in the East. And so in the West, we will be the biggest within 12 months. One thing that I really actually would like to harp on, because I think a lot of people who are in crypto and talk about community don't actually know what the hell they're talking about. One of the things as to why I think Pudgy Penguins is the best community in crypto is really because of the community. And so what do I mean by that? Well, a community, in my opinion, I kind of look at communities like cul-de-sacs or like your town or maybe like the cafeteria table when we were all in middle school and high school. And so at the Pudgy Penguin community, we have this thing called the PayPal Mafia. It's kind of a play on the PayPal Mafia. And so the PayPal Mafia consists of these really affluent Pudgy Penguin holders and community members. And why that matters is because when you want to join a community and be a part of a community, you don't want to go and join the cafeteria table with all the losers. Everybody wants to be at the cafeteria table with all the winners. Well, if you ask around, there isn't a major executive at a top exchange or a top L1 or a top L2 or a top DeFi company or a top DePIN company. No matter where you turn, there is an executive at every major company in crypto that is a Pudgy Penguin aligned holder, whether they have the NFT or token. This is, you can't say absolute, but this is probably 98% true to that statement. Everyone every org in some shape, way, or form is Pudgy Penguin aligned. And why we're the best community in crypto is because we have the best people within that community. We have the coolest lunch table at the cafeteria. People don't want to be a part of a community with a bunch of complainers and people who don't know what they're doing. They want to be a part of a community of people that push the space forward. And we've been able to cultivate and galvanize that group of people. And I will be honest, I played some part in this and our team played some part in this, but this existed long before my time at Pudgy Penguins. So for those of you who are not familiar, Pudgy Penguins was a rugged NFT project. We bought it, we brought it back. Now we're one of the biggest and the best. I would argue the biggest and the best. And that's where we are today. So, the slide before, this is a little funky setup. We're in 10,000 retailers across the world. This is important. This is a little bit of a dated slide, but I do take pride in the fact that we were able to distribute our physical products in over 10,000 physical locations in just under 2 years. For context, it's not in this slide, but a lot of you may ask, it's a revenue meta. As silly as it sounds, I don't think revenue is a meta. I think revenue is a forever thing within crypto. I think the fact that it wasn't was a bad thing, but Pudgy Penguins is about $50 million a year, which I think is pretty good. Or this year we'll do $50 million. Walmart, Target, Walgreens, GameStop, some of the locations that we're in. This is a little tricky because I can't really see the slides in front of me usually. Geez. Okay. Scaling in Asia, one of the biggest things for most people who I think aren't familiar with the IP business or crypto in general, there's actually an interesting fact that I think is relevant. You will see Pudgy Penguins talk about Asia, specifically Korea, all the time. For those of you guys who are in TradFi, you understand why that is. If you don't understand why that is, I'll give you an important fact that matters. Really, two facts. The first fact that's crypto relevant, that's relevant to all of you guys, is actually understanding the Korean stablecoin or the Korean denominated volume within crypto. To give you guys some context, basically a majority of the world, with the exception of Korea, trades in USDC or USDT denominated pairs. In I think the first quarter of 2025, I think the number was somewhere around 400 and something billion dollars traded in USDC and USDT denominated pairs. To give you context, in quarter one of 2025, $380 billion was traded in denominated KRW pairs, which means Korea is doing more volume, or just as much or close to as much volume as basically the entire world. Why that matters and why does that matter for Pudgy Penguins? Well, I'll give you guys some alpha as to some context, but prior to 30 days ago, Pudgy Penguins was one of the best performing alts of basically this mini cycle of 2025, basically from March to what was a month ago, September, to about September. Why that matters is because it was really driven by Asia. And so what matters in Asia for any of the people here who are of Asian descent? Asia is the home of cute IP. Who's the face of cute within crypto? Well, unequivocally, if anyone refutes Pudgy Penguins, I'd say you're absolutely crazy. And so you will see us focus on Asia big time. Why? Well, for a lot of reasons. One, they're the face of cute. They understand cute. Cute dominates Asia. Cute is the biggest IP category in the world. Pudgy Penguins is the biggest cute character within crypto by a Texas mile. We are focusing with partnering with some of the biggest companies within Korea, some of which are Lotte and Line Friends. If you guys are familiar, Lotte is basically the Walmart of Korea. Line Friends is basically the, how would I comp Line Friends? Line Friends is like the WhatsApp meets legacy Disney IP. It's a very interesting mixed match, but if you're familiar, and then we have another big partnership coming there. And this is a dated metric of our impressions. Again, we get about 1 billion impressions every single day. This is available on pengu.pudgypenguins.com. It's an API feed that basically takes all of our influencers, all of our social accounts, and basically aggregates it in a real-time feed for you to see. I've talked about this, and this is probably where I'll culminate because this thing's broken and I've definitely went over my time, is I actually believe Pudgy Penguins, Pangu, will be the biggest memetic entity, coin, product within crypto. Why I think this is simple. All of our metrics are up and to the right. What that tells me is our cultural relevancy is yet to peak. I would say today the current leader in memes is Dogecoin. It's impossible to say that Doge's cultural relevancy hasn't peaked. It has. And I think cultural relevancy peaks before financial relevancy, which also means that Dogecoin's financial relevancy has peaked. I think as long as our metrics go up and to the right, our financial relevancy is yet to peak. And we tell a deflationary story. This year we burned about 13% of the Pudgy Penguin supply. It's about $400 million at the time. And we have integrations. You can use Pangu to buy things on Shopify, to buy things on Lufthansa Airlines, Miles & More, et cetera. And then it goes back to what I said earlier. Look, today I think we are unequivocally the face and mascot of crypto. I think when you think of crypto native IP to come out of the industry, there is nothing bigger and more popular than Pudgy Penguins. From a data perspective, it's impossible to refute. But where we want to go is I want to become the face of penguins around the world. When your friends and family members think penguins, I want them to think Pudgy Penguins. And ultimately, I want this picture to be seared into everyone's mind, because where I want to go is I want Pudgy Penguins to now become the face of finance. So when your local BlackRock and Blackstone executive is asking you, or you ask them what their favorite character is, they will say Pudgy Penguins. Thank you, everyone, for your time.